This Saturday is Uruguayan President José Pepe Mujica's last day in office before handing the presidency over to his leftist party comrade Tovar Vázquez. Recent polls revealed that Mujica's popularity is on the rise. Over 65% approved of his administration, while less than 17% didn't agree with his policies. During his 5 years as president, Mujica donated over $550,000 of his salary to housing and other social programs. He will be remembered as the president that focused on social progress, poverty reduction, legalization of marijuana, and for living a life of austerity.
Tens of thousands of Venezuelans are expected to pour into the streets of the capital city of Caracas to commemorate the 26th anniversary of El Caracazo. The march will also be an anti-imperialist mobilization that will end in front of the presidential Miraflores Palace, where President Nicolas Maduro will deliver a speech to the nation. On February 27, 1989, Venezuelans rose up in spontaneous protests against catastrophic free market policies imposed by the U.S. through the International Monetary Fund. The right-wing government responded with violence, claiming up to 3,000 lives.
The CARICOM biannual summit ended Friday evening with a statement of condemnation against the U.S.-backed coup attempts against the democratically elected government of Venezuela. The Caribbean leaders also said that despite Washington's attempts to lure the CARICOM nations away from the Venezuelan initiative Petrocaribe, they have decided to move forward with Venezuela. They said they are grateful to President Maduro for his financial support to the region. The Caribbean leaders also called on the United States to end its senseless blockade against Cuba.
Cuba scored a victory Friday during the second round of negotiations with the United States after Washington announced it would remove the island nation from its list of sponsors of terrorism. At the press conference following the talks aimed to normalize bilateral ties between the two countries, Cuban Representative Josefina Vidal reiterated the importance of this agreement before both nations can begin to open embassies in each other's capitals. Roberta Jackson, the U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, echoed the call, saying that her country is reviewing the terror list and will remove Cuba before April.
For us, it would be difficult to explain that Cuba and the U.S. have reestablished normal diplomatic relations while Cuba is kept in that list that we believe we have never belonged to.
The Mexican Attorney General Jesus Murillo Caram contradicted himself in a speech announcing his resignation. He said the Ayotzinapa case could not be closed because the remains of 42 of the 43 forcibly disappeared students had not been identified. In January, Murillo sparked major controversy announcing the Ayotzinapa case closed without presenting conclusive evidence. His resignation came just after protesters marked the 5-month anniversary since the students were attacked by local police and allegedly handed over to a drug cartel. Murillo will now head the Ministry of Agrarian and Urban Development.
Mexican drug traffickers use their massive resources to mastermind different ways of smuggling drugs throughout the United States. Many sophisticated cross-border tunnels have been discovered throughout the years by U.S. officials. On Friday, U.S. Customs officers at a California border crossing in San Diego seized more than 15 tons of marijuana hidden inside a tractor-trailer shipment designated as cargo of mattresses. This is the biggest U.S. narcotics bust ever at that port of entry. The marijuana seized is estimated to have a street value of about $19 million. Crowds continued to gather at a bridge near the Kremlin on Saturday to pay tribute to slain opposition activist Boris Nemtsov, shot and killed late on Friday. The 55-year-old was shot 4 times in the back as he walked across a bridge over the Moskva River in Moscow. Russia's investigative committee said it was pursuing several lines of inquiry, including the possibility the killing was an attempt to destabilize the political situation in the country. The committee also saw an attack by radical Islamists as a possibility in the case, as he had recently received death threats from extremists.
The U.S. House of Representatives gave final approval on Friday to a 1-week stopgap spending bill for the Domestic Security Agency. The measure averted a partial shutdown with just hours to spare before a midnight deadline. The House voted 357 to 60 to keep the lights on at the Department of Homeland Security for at least 1 more week. The Senate had already passed a 1-week extension a few hours earlier, and President Barack Obama is expected to quickly sign it. The extension will give both chambers of Congress more time to work out their differences on funding for the agency.
To allow a shutdown of these critical functions would be an abdication of one of our primary duties as members of the House. It is no way to govern the nation, and the American people deserve better. It's the 11th hour, and we must act to provide stable, continuous funding for the agencies and programs tasked with defending our home turf.
Italian lawmakers on Friday backed a non-binding resolution that encourages the government to recognize Palestine as a state. The move underlines European frustrations over stalled Middle East peace negotiations. European countries have become increasingly critical of Israel, which has pressed on with building settlements on Palestinian territory. Italy's Chamber of Deputies voted by 300 to 45 to pass the motion presented by Prime Minister Matteo Renzi's Democratic Party to promote the recognition of Palestine as a democratic state. Ireland, Britain, and France have held similar parliamentary votes on the status of Palestine in recent months. Sweden went further, officially recognizing Palestine.
As Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras' popularity is on the rise and his Syriza party gains further voter support, he denied on Friday that his country would have to seek a third international bailout when a 4-month extension to its current program expires. Greece has already received 2 bailouts totaling about $270 billion, but fellow Eurozone member Ireland said last week that it would have to negotiate a third program. Tsipras also announced his government would propose an investigation into the circumstances around the 2 bailout programs received by previous governments, which many in Greece criticize as being a failure due to being too austerity-heavy.
Earl Lloyd, the first African-American to play in the National Basketball Association, died Thursday at the age of 86. The cause of death was not disclosed. Lloyd paved the way for black players when he made his NBA debut with the Washington Capitals in 1950. He missed the 1951-52 season due to military service, but later won a championship with Syracuse Nationals. Lloyd scored 4,682 points in his 560 games.
Facts that have marked the course of history. Productions designed in the English language and made for the English-speaking world. This is Documentary. Watch it on telesur.net/English. teleSUR, wherever the news, you'll be there.